Hello, everyone. Welcome to the School of Becoming with Taben Nathaniel. Today's session will be very validating and entertaining. So pay attention to details and don't be rude. This session has the ability to change your life, change my life, change our life. This is a theory we derived. We've been thinking about this theory for many months and we've decided to share it with the general public today. And before we start, I want to say this. These sessions are recorded live. And for this reason, we may make a lot of mistakes with theories, with grammar, with our speech. If you have a lot of questions after the session, please reach out to us through our WhatsApp number or our email address. Thank you. And we have a product here, Don't Sell Your Soul, How to Live with Integrity in a World Full of Compromise. So if you need a copy, send an email as well or a WhatsApp message. So the theory we're about to discuss today is very interesting. You're not going to see it anywhere on the internet, just in the School of Becoming. The session today is every man has two lives, the surviving life and the purpose life. So we are focused on the act of feeding your family without starving your soul, right? There's a genuine question I want all of us to answer. What if you are successful at surviving and very unsuccessful at living? There are a lot of people like this. You see them surviving, very successful in surviving, but they are very unsuccessful in living. And this is a very interesting ideology. We wake up every single day, we go for work, we go to school, we pay the bills, we take care of our kids, those who have kids, we do everything possible to make sure that we don't starve our family. But the question is, are we starving our souls in the process? Right? A lot of people can have all these things surviving, but there is something very empty in them. The question is this all about me? You are very successful at surviving. Is this all about you? Were you born for this? Just this? There is more to a lot of things we do. The question is, why do we do the things we do? What is the motivation? Why do you show up every single day tired, happy, traumatized, but you still show up? There is something causing you to show up tired, happy, traumatized, and many more, right? So the two forms of lives or the two dimensions of life every man can live is the survival life and the purpose life. The first life is the life that you live because you must live. And the second life is a life you live because you were made for that life. I'm going to repeat this. The first life, which is a survival life, is a life you live because you must live it. And the second life is a purpose life. You live this life because you were made for this life, right? You may be very busy trying to keep yourself alive, and at some point you forget why you're keeping yourself alive. A lot of people are focused on the things they can have, and little or no persons focus on who they becoming in the process of trying to get the things they want, right? All this balance must be made very clear. We're going to define the survival life. First of all, what is survivor? Survivor is a condition of continuing to exist despite difficulty, pressure, and danger. So regardless of the pressure, regardless of the danger, regardless of the difficulty, you must eat. Number one, you must shelter. You must need security. You must have money. You must have healthcare. You must have education. You must provide for your family. So you surviving is a form of you existing regardless of the difficulty, regardless of the pressure, regardless of the danger. You must survive. When we do all these things, we are surviving. If you eat, if you take care of yourself, if you have health care, if you have the education you need, if you provide for your family, you render all obligations, you are merely surviving, right? And trust me, there's nothing harmful about a survival life. There's nothing bad about a survival life. We're going to explain this as we move further. There's nothing shameful about the survival life. You can see a man who works for 12 hours every single day just to feed their family. Now, that man is very important as a man who spend their life building a company. Yes, the fact that you spend 12 hours looking for food for your family and another person is spending a number of hours building a company, that does not make you less of a human than the person who spends their hours building a company. I'm saying this so we can balance the surviving life and the purpose life. We need these two lives to survive. We need them. You may see a woman on the street selling foods, maybe selling food, just because she want to pay her children's school fees. There's nothing shameful about that. Our parents did this. There's nothing shameful about that. You may see a young man try everything possible to get a job. Tries everything to get a job just because he wants to take care of his family. There is nothing shameful about that. So one of the things I want us to understand is living a surviving life is not shameful. Every man must eat. At some point, hunger is real. Bills are real. School fees are real. Hospital bills are real. Rent are real. Family responsibilities are real. So we must survive at some point. So why I'm saying all these things, I'm not trying to attack the surviving life. I'm not attacking the work. I'm not attacking that money is not good. I'm not attacking that we should not get employed. What I'm saying is us understanding what the survival life is. That's all. The first part. Right? So the survival life is a life that we live because we want to merely exist despite the danger, despite the insecurity, despite the pressure, despite the uncertainty. We just want to exist regardless of those highs and lows. Yeah. So you living a life of purpose does not cancel responsibility. Your children still need to eat. Your children still need to get their fees paid. Even if you're trying to discover your purpose, you still need to do all these things. You still need to eat. Even if you're trying to discover your own purpose, you still need food. You still need security regardless of how much you are involved in living a life of purpose. You still need security. So living a surviving life or having a purpose life don't eliminate a surviving life, right? So in Africa, it's very true that at some point you may leave school and you still don't get jobs because it looks like the job hunting is more. So there's scarcity in jobs. At some point, we do a lot of things to survive. A lot of things to survive. You may be selling in a restaurant. You may be doing driving. All those jobs, you're not doing them because you actually were born for those things. You are doing them because you just want to survive. At some point in every man's life, the best thing that you just have to do is to survive. Don't just die. Don't die at that point. Don't die. So the surviving life helps us to stay alive despite the difficulty, the pressure, the danger, the uncertainty. We just have to survive. So if you tell a man to live a life of purpose, they can't do that without food in their stomach. They can't do that with an empty stomach. They can't do that. And the second life we're explaining is a purpose life. Now, this is very interesting, right? The purpose life is not simply something we enjoy doing. One of the worst advice we could ever receive out there is do what you like. Doing what you like is very dangerous. Imagine a man, I like doing this. What if what you like does not work? What if what you like doing does not ever work? So doing what you like is the worst advice you could ever receive. I could tell you do what you need to do. Because a lot of time the things you need to do may not be very funny to you, may not be very comfortable to you. So the surviving life is you existing regardless of the pressure, the danger, the uncertainty. But the purpose life, number one, is not simply you enjoying what you do. It's not your hobby. A purpose life is not your hobby. A purpose life is not the job you want. Now, there are a lot of questions that when you're living the purpose life, you need to ask yourself. The first question is, why am I here? That is, why do you exist in a G field? Why do you exist in this wicked world? That is the first question any man living the purpose life must ask themselves. why am I here? The second question is, why or what am I capable of contributing? See, I so much find interest in the generation that we have a lot of people who can do things not for money. Yes, we should be able to have people who can do things not for money, because an average youth, all what they do, the end result is that there should be a monetary reward. That's not a bad idea. What I'm saying is, when you are living a purposeful life, there are things you will do, there are problems you will solve, not for money. But there is something very powerful about a purpose life. The end result must be fruitful. But if your intention of living the purpose life is to make money, you'll crash. So the first question you ask if you are living the purpose life is, why am I on earth? The second is, what am I capable of contributing? The third question is, what problem am I uniquely equipped to solve? What is that problem that only you can solve? Any man living the purpose life must ask this question. If you are living the purpose life, the fourth question must ask is, what gift has been placed inside of me? What are those things that you can consider as a gift? Can you naturally sing? Can you naturally solve problems? Those are gifts, right? Can you naturally prophesy? Those are gifts. The next question every man must ask, I think is the sixth question, is, what shows that I existed? What is that thing that can show that you existed? When you are living a purposeful life, you must ask this question. In other words, you can ask the question, what exists because you existed? What should exist because you existed? That means you were created to solve a problem. Not that a problem was created because you existed. I don't know if you understand that. I'm not going to explain that. A lot of problems were created because they existed. But other persons, they were created because there was a problem. I don't know which one you are, and I'm not going to tell you the one I am, right? So these questions must be answered. If you are living a purpose life, there are questions you answer. The first question is who you are or why do you exist? The second is, what are you capable of contributing? The third is, what problem are you uniquely equipped to solve? The next is, what gift has been placed inside of you? The next is, what kind of work makes my experience meaningful? Your existence, sorry. What kind of work makes your existence meaningful? I think I did not mention that. And the last is, what should exist because you existed? So in the purpose life, there are some questions we don't ask. One of the questions we don't ask in the purpose life is, how much will I earn? As I said this, there are things we're going to do in this world not for money. And I so much believe that these things, we can attribute them to our life work. Maybe in another lecture, we're going to discuss what is a life work. So we're not going to ask the question, how much will I earn? So a job can ask a question, what do I do? But if you're living a purpose life, the question that pops up in your mind is, why does what I do matter? Right? So a career asks question, what profession am I building? If you're a career man, a career woman, the question that your career answers is, what profession are you building? But purpose answers the question, what contribution are you making? Your purpose has the tendency of producing income. But if you are living a purpose life because you want money, as I said, you will crash. Right? We have two scenarios. I'm going to try to explain the scenario. We have a person who makes millions doing something that they were absolutely never supposed or made to do. So it's very possible that we can have people who can be successful doing the wrong things. It's very possible that we can have people who are successful living the wrong life. On the other hand, we can have somebody who solves a meaningful problem tremendously and they have no monetary reward. And that's why the purposeful life or the purpose life is very scary, because from the beginning, it looks like you're wasting time. It looks like there is no hope, and only you can sustain that life. A lot of people around you say, why are you living this life anyway? Because it looks like nothing's going to happen positive. You should have the ability to see the light, even if no one can see it. So we should also have the ability to separate value, money, meaning, and purpose. These things need to be separated. There's a difference between your value, the money you have, the meaning, your meaning, and the purpose. There should be a difference, right? So the next phase is where the two lines collide. That is the line of purpose and the line of survivor. It's very true that at a point in a man's life, we're going to be faced with a situation that you have discovered your gift, you know your calling, there's a problem you know you want to solve, but the problem is, how will you survive? How will you survive? This is the truth, right? If you're a musician, a teacher, a pastor, an artist, a writer, regardless of who you are, you need money to survive. At some point, you need money to survive. You need money to survive. So the question should not be, will I choose money or will I choose purpose? So the right question is, how do I build an economic structure that allows me to manifest my purpose and still survive? So we have to build an economic structure that will give us the ability to manifest our purpose and still survive. So you can use your job as a fuel to your purpose. Your job is not your enemy. Your job can be a fuel to your purpose. Right? And trust me, don't quit your job because you know your purpose. Use the product from your job to fit your purpose. So the next part, we have the African survivor trap. Now, this is a trap we find ourselves in a lot of ways. During the first early 8 years of our lives, we were told what to do, how to do it, and when to do it. So during this period, we were told, go to school, study hard, get good grades, go to the university, get a job, make money, build a house, get married, have kids, and the last, take care of your kids, take care of your family. And after that, you die. And the circle continues with your next generation. This is a trap, right? This brings us to a problem. What aspects of our lives are we supposed to live for others? Because a lot of things should be true, that there are lives we should live, and our purpose life is that life that you will live not for yourself. The survivor life you live for yourself, but the purpose life you live for others. The purpose life exists so you can solve meaningful problems in your society, in your generation. It's not just enough to go to school, get a job, make money, build a house, take care of your family. What problem are you actually solving for people? What makes a man more valuable, or what makes a man valuable, is when you can solve the problem of people. It's not for yourself. When you live for yourself alone, you're just surviving. But the moment you realize you start living for other people, then you have moved to this purpose life. So one of the difference between the purpose life and the survivor life is that the survivor life is for yourself. You live for yourself. But the purpose life, you live for others. Right? So a lot of times when we go through all this process, the genuine question we need to ask ourselves, we don't ask, who are we becoming? A lot of times we focus on the things we want. Little or no persons focus on who they become in the process of getting the things they want. You may become a beast trying to get the things you want. You may become a wicked person trying to get the things you want. You may become a good person trying to get the things you want. You may sell your soul trying to get the things you want. A lot of times we have also to pay attention to the things or to the person we're becoming in the quest of getting the things we want. Now, our parents could tell us this. Our parents saw reality and they could tell us, be a doctor. When your parents tells you to be a doctor, what they're actually saying is that I want you to have a security I never had. Yes. They're not actually trying to shape your life or trying to force you to do what you don't want to do. They're actually telling you there's a security they never had and they want you to have. So that's why they can propose on jobs for you, right? And the best question you can ask yourself as a child is that the life that supplies me or serves me financially, is that the life I want to be? Because there is a twist to this. Sometimes you may find yourself in a surviving life and hoping that one day you're going to solve or live a purpose life, and you live your life in a hope. Because an average man idea for change is hope. We keep hoping for a version of reality we never work for. So the best question to ask as a child when your parents tell you to do a lot of things you think you don't want to do is, the things that serves me financially, are they going to serve me in my purpose? Very good question, right? And I'm going to move further to the education question. Now, education itself is not a problem. The universities we go to is not a problem. Schooling is not a problem. The problem is our education has made it in a way that it has trained people to understand the act of looking for jobs. And that is why when you're done with the BSc, the bachelor's degree, the system tells you, don't create jobs. Look for a job. If you don't have a job, go for masters. A lot of people who go for master, it's not because they really wanted master. It's because they don't want to be jobless. And they just decide to move to another level of being trapped. This does not apply to everybody. A lot of people do masters because they genuinely want to acquire knowledge. The majority of the population, they do masters because they don't want to stay idle, they don't want to stay jobless. And that is how the system has programmed us to do the things we have to do just to stay busy. And if you are done with masters, you still don't have a job. After you've searched for a job, don't create jobs. The system said don't create a job. Move further in the ladder of education. Because our educational system asks just one question. What do you want to study? You see, averagely, when a child wants to go to the university, our parents ask this question. What do you want to study? Their friends ask, what do you want to study? That's not the right question to ask. What if you ask a question like, what do you want to solve? Because from what they want to solve, we can easily know what they can study. A lot of time, what you want to study is motivated from what your friends are studying, what you're seeing around. But what you want to solve is deep down within. You can't negotiate what you want to solve to what you want to study. So the best questions I'm going to ask my children is, what do you want to solve? What problem do you want to solve? How do you want to contribute to your society? From the contribution they can make, you can align them to the path they can follow to get that done, right? If you have been enjoying this session, please, I want you to give a thumbs up, comment below. I want to know what you're thinking, right? And don't forget to subscribe. Now, the next part is, a lot of us are born into someone else's dream. A lot of us are born into someone else's dream. Now, this may be very painful to say, but a lot of us are actually living the life of people. There are a lot of children that are living the life of their parents. Their parents failed to do something and they passed it on to you. So at that point, you're not living the life you're supposed to live. You're living the life of your parents. That's not a bad idea. But I'm just saying it for the records. A lot of people are living the life of their parents. And the truth remains that you can be very successful doing the wrong things. A lot of people don't see the things they don't see. What you don't see is bigger than you, or what you don't know. A lot of people see the salary, but nobody sees the emptiness. You can be earning good money, but you are very empty within. A lot of people see the position you win, but little or no persons pay attention to the stress you go through, right? So a lot of people are born into someone else's dream. Very true. So the next part is when survival consumes purpose. A lot of people will spend their entire life preparing to begin living. You spend your entire life procrastinating. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And at the end, you find yourself just surviving all your life. You find yourself just doing the things you do because you don't want to die. You just find yourself doing the things you do because you just want to keep existing. And you never get to the point of becoming. So that is a very bad thing to happen when survival consumes your sense of purpose. And the next part is the danger of using purpose to escape responsibility. A lot of people can use purpose to escape their basic responsibility. Now, let me say this very clearly. Right? Let me attack the other extreme. If we want to be very intellectually honest, we must also look at the other part of it. Some people use the purpose life to escape responsibility. Right? And I don't want to subscribe to that. A lot of people will say, I don't want jobs because I have a calling. They say, I don't want to work because I have a great life. A lot of people say, I don't want to develop skills because God will make a way. See, this is very archaic to say. There are a lot of people believe in destiny helpers, but your destiny helpers will not come and help you from nothing. You have to start something. You have to start something. There is something you must do before people who can help you will show up. So the last part, the bridge. How does a man live with both lives? Having a balance between the surviving life and the purpose life. I may not explain this detailedly, but trust me, you don't have to destroy the surviving life. Maybe your jobs can be used to pay the bills. Use part of the money or part of the income to develop some skills. Maybe you work all day, use the night to develop your personal dreams or the project you have to build. All these things works. So I think we've entertained ourselves enough, and this is a concept we are going to still examine better. So thank you for watching this far, and subscribe to our channel to make sure we have amazing sessions like this, and God bless you. See you next Friday. I always say this about the truth. The truth has never been make a man comfortable. The truth has always existed to set people free.
Welcome to the School of Becoming with Tabi Nathaniel. The School of Becoming exists to challenge belief systems, question assumptions, understand how the real world works, and develop the minds required to change it.
Every generation is shaped by people who dare to think differently. There's a lot of relationships that, if the truth is being spoken, the relationship will break. A lot of relationships are built on lies, and for that relationship to survive, it needs to be sustained by lies.
Tabi Nathaniel is a pastor, therapist, leader, musician, software developer, educator, and visionary, building a generation of agents of change.
The generation we are raising is the agents of change. Agents of change. Now, the agents of change is a generation, it's a vision, men and women who don't just talk about change, who don't just preach change, but they become change themselves. Imagine a generation where appearance is reality. That means what you see is what is true. That is the generation we are getting to. Men and women who speak about the things they do, not just speak about things, but they do the things they say.
And he is the author of the book Don't Sell Your Soul, How to Live with Integrity in a World Full of Compromise.
At some point in every man's life, there are some hard questions we have to ask. At some point in my life, I ask some hard questions. Why do I do the things I do? Why am I Christian? What if the only thing I have to do is to sell my soul? Am I going to sell my soul? What if the only thing left for me to ever see is myself? Will I be happy with myself? Will I be happy with the things I did while I was alive? Every man is left with these hard questions to answer. The things that have always saved me is for me to challenge my own belief systems. It's for me to discuss on things that are very uncomfortable to me. It's for me to get involved in conversations that go against the same things I've been holding to be true for many years. That is what the School of Becoming is all about. If you're not ready for hard discussions, you're not ready to handle the truth, it's not for you.
If you're ready to train your mind, challenge what you know, and transform your life, join us at the School of Becoming. New teachings drop every Friday at 8 p.m. exclusively on YouTube. Don't just exist. Don't just consume. Learn, think, become.